The 9001 Podcast.
Do you really believe your own hype that much? I am the hype!
Hey everyone, welcome to the 9001 Podcast. Today is March 1st, 2015. My name is Wilson, and I'm joined today by Randall.
Hola muchachos.
And Lane.
Hi everyone.
And muchachos. Let's do this. So for our rapid fire section, the aim is to tell you what we're playing in 30 seconds or less. So I'll start, and this week was a little busy for me, but I did find some time to play Majora's Mask on the 3DS. I picked it up along with the new console, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, the only problem I've had playing the game was playing it at night. Sometimes the new 3D has a hard time finding out where my face is, which is understandable.
Yeah, you got a pretty weird looking face, so I could understand.
Well, it's dark.
Difficult for that recognition, you know?
Alright.
To be honest, I didn't even think that would be a thing. I didn't remember that was a thing, that it was face tracking. But
yeah,
anyway.
it's cool. Yeah, the game's fun. It's good in the new 3D.
I thought you didn't remember Wilson's face was weird. I was gonna say, that's a weird.
No, I definitely remember that.
Okay. Well, Randall, I'll hand it off to you.
I didn't play too many games this week. Caught up with school, doing other things, other hobbies, but I'll tell y'all about the sub-zero conditions we've been living in the Midwest for any of y'all over here. We've just hit like the pinnacle of hell. I don't know what the fuck is going on, dude. We had like a foot of snow here. And I know it's bad with Lane too.
No, it's worse there.
Yeah, but y'all have worse traffic though.
Yeah, no, okay. My friend has a really interesting picture that he took when he was using Google Maps of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area, and every single major street is like lined with red. It's a very interesting picture. I'll send it to you guys later.
Yeah, but I just basically want to talk about how I hated my life this week. We'll pass it on to Lane.
Alright. This week I've been playing a little bit of Forza Horizon 2. Jesus, I can't talk today. For those of you who don't know, it's a racing game set in the open world in the Forza style arcade, but, faithful recreation of actual driving, or semi-faithful.
Yeah.
It's really weird going back to it though, because I've been playing a lot of GTA, and the driving of that is extremely responsive compared to Forza, because, it's supposed to be more realistic and quite a bit more difficult to deal with. But nonetheless, I had a lot of fun with it, mostly because my internet was dead and I couldn't play Destiny. So I'm having trouble pulling myself away from Destiny these days because it's really fun. And I've been playing a lot of League too, and I've just lost my promos for like the third time in a row. I'm desperately trying to get to Gold 2, so someday, maybe. Anyway.
Somewhere over the rainbow.
Yep. Dude, Fizz is so strong right now.
Yeah, dude.
Not even AP Fizz. I'm playing that AP Fizz.
I mean, Fizz is just innately stronger because you can like buy another item and he still almost does the exact same thing. So
he's so good. Anyway.
Yep.
So, talking about the release of the week this week, we've got Dragon Ball Xenoverse, which is finally out in most regions. It's a game it's one of the best received DBZ games in recent memory, and it seems pretty cool from what I can tell. Basically, you start off creating your own warrior with a choice of 5 races, and it can be either gender, and each one of those is going to be a factor as to how you should be building your fighter for kind of maxing out their potential.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept, and I think the whole time, it's good of them to, instead of doing a full rehash, just like we've been doing for a while, to throw in, a little bit of a curveball, which is the whole time thing. It basically gives you a story to go through. Like, now you can actually go through and see how things are different instead of just going through and reliving things.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing that for how many frickin' games?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it's cool. It has like a whole new story that's kind of based around that character that you create, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
So you're not just like, because, with a lot of the Budokais, you just end up playing through the sagas, which can be kind of fun, especially when they have different little takes or different details that may not have been part of the original canon.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of stuff in it that's not part of the original canon, and they added in entire sections of new animation for it, which is not as high quality as the normal stuff, but that's understandable because they're not bringing in the original animation team for that crap. That'd be insane.
And it's just harder to do on like such a large scale.
Yeah, it's difficult. And, I've been watching some videos, and this is just nitpicking, but I just want to talk about this real quick. So Trunks is voiced by the same guy who voices Goku, right? In the English dub, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's because of his age, because obviously he's gotten quite a bit older, but his Goku is bleeding into his Trunks so bad. And it's like every time he talks with his Trunks, I just hear Goku instead.
It's just Goku living through him, right, dude?
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's not important, but it was weirding me out when I watched some gameplay and stuff like that.
So the interesting part here is that Dimps is actually working on the game.
Dimps, is that the original animation studio?
So Dimps created the original Budokai.
Oh, okay. Dimps.
And Budokai 2.
Sounds familiar. Budokai was...
The rest of the Budokai. I think Budokai 3 goes down as kind of the ultimate DBC fighting game.
Yes, I had countless hours playing that.
So, I mean, I feel like if this goes well, we are gonna... I mean, there'll probably be a Xenoverse 2.
Yeah, but, man, where are they gonna go with that?
Well, I mean, if it's got, like, kind of this PvP element that's... and all of these RPG elements, I think.
Well, I've heard, and this is obviously secondhand, but I've heard that the PvP element or the, actual player versus other player element is sort of skewed because the show characters are so much stronger than everyone else for some reason. So they're gonna have to balance that out probably, and that's understandable because they're actually supposed to be, but, that's not really good for the gameplay, obviously.
Yeah, it's a bit odd. Well, to have a little fun with this before we move on, so the 5 races that you get are human, Saiyan, Namekian, the Buu, Majin Buu, I don't even know what you would call
Buu. Are, and then Frieza and them are.
Whatever the Friezas are called.
They don't have a name, like they're not familiarized in any way, they just are in the series.
So I'm gonna pose the question and answer it immediately, and you guys can do the same. The answering part. So in terms of what you would create, I would probably create some sort of Frieza type. I don't know if it'd be a boy or a girl because I can't tell which one's more. I don't even know the difference really because I think they're like the same.
Did you say a Frieza type?
Yeah, a Frieza type, and call it Spritzer.
Spritzer. Well, okay, I was just looking actually. Yeah.
Or Sprinkler maybe. I don't know, something troll like that.
The Buu race is called the Majin, which is their actual race, I guess, which is weird, but that's what they're called. And
I'll believe it.
The Frieza race is called the Frieza race in Dragon Ball Xenoverse.
Winning.
Yeah, in the Xenoverse, but in the actual show, it's never named.
Yeah, it's never named, which is odd, but whatever.
So, all right, what about y'all?
Namekian.
Oh God.
The shows.
Oh man.
Just Project Piccolo.
Yeah, pretty much, dude. Piccolo's my man. I wouldn't name him Piccolo. I'd have to think about the name a little bit. I'm not as quick on the naming as you, Wilson. Obviously, you've been holding that one for a minute, so.
You could name him Flute.
I thought about that. That seems a little too easy, though. It's not creative enough.
What about Alakit?
What?
Just Piccolo backwards.
Oh my God, dude.
Why do you know that off the top of your head?
Or just like an anagram. I don't know. I'm just
maybe
trying to help
or something.
Yeah, there you go. I love naming.
Wow.
All right, Lane.
Oh God. Okay, so it was human, Namekian, Majin, Frieza, and Saiyan?
Yeah.
I'd probably go Saiyan just for lulz, and maybe name myself Raditz and then save the world.
Wow.
With 2 Z's, Raditz.
Yeah, Raditz.
Like, you would have your own website where you could talk about your character lore.
It would be the exact character lore of the Raditz who sucked, and then he came back way later on as this shining golden god who saved the world. Like
Grandma Pan wishes you back to life when she goes senile.
Yeah, you're a good guy for some reason.
And like everyone that you thought like you knew was dead, and like you basically like get trained under Goku Jr. when he's like 11 years old.
Why are you making this? Quit it.
Alright, well, anyway, as you can tell, Xenoverse is brimming with possibilities for character backstory.
Oh yeah, dude, people can really live out their fanfics in this. Like Wilson.
Right. And so, there's a normal campaign, and then there's also 55 mini-missions or quests called Parallel Quests.
Are those the what-ifs?
And those are parallel quests.
Well, no, like, are they the what-if missions?
I think they're just they should be all from all sorts of Dragon Ball stories. Just having a good time with all those places that you've seen and heard before.
Okay.
So anyway, seems like there's a pretty good amount of content, but maybe once you blow through it, it might get a little thin and, make you gear towards the PvP element of the game. But I just thought it was interesting. I haven't seen a DBC title in a while, or DB title.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'm pretty happy that it's done well. So.
And it's a huge release. I mean, it's all, both PlayStations that are out, both Xboxes, and then on Steam and Windows.
Hey, mini combo right here. When do you think we're gonna drop old consoles?
That's a great question.
The reason I asked this is because it's sort of a hot button title with people who play Destiny, because it seems like Bungie had to pare the game back quite a bit to keep it in line with older consoles. Like, cut out some of their stuff. Maybe not just for that reason, but some of the, wider zones and stuff like that definitely had to be pared back a little bit to get it to run on, 360, PS3. When do you think we're actually gonna be like, nah, you gotta get a new console for that? I think Destiny 2 is gonna be on new consoles only, I hope.
When is Destiny 2?
It's gonna be not next year, but the next. It's supposed to be every 2 years.
Yeah, probably Destiny 2 then. I mean, I imagine that, one of the more interesting things about this whole console cycle is that people aren't as compelled to upgrade.
Yeah.
Like with the Xbox 360, right? I think, one of the bigger things was kind of that it turned into that media device too, right? You started getting the lifestyle out of it versus just having a console. And now that, really unless you're going for a game, if you're not just using it as a Netflix machine, there isn't that much of a functional difference between the two.
Well, I would agree with you in most cases, but the Xbox does have some advantages. And I think the Xbox functions better as that sort of thing anyway, as like an
it does.
non-Netflix machine only. It even has a guide, which is really cool too.
No, it's cool, but I'm just saying I don't know if it would motivate that person who already has the 360 to spend the X 100.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a big enough motivation yet. And we should stop before we get into this whole conversation because let's
tone it down and bring it back to our schedule.
But we can have a console conversation at some point. That'd be good.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about this next week, or at least before next holiday season.
When Randall buys a 360, or wait, not a 360, a 1.
When Lane buys me a 1.
Maybe we'll just have a big retrospective on all consoles and our lives with consoles. So
story of our
anyway.
life, Wilson.
Okay. Moving over to bulletin board. This is a section of the show where we just gather some news, stuff that's of interest to us that we want to share with you guys. And the first on the list is that HTC has announced a partnership with Valve. So Valve has been working on a VR headset, and it's called the Vive, and it's going to be made by HTC, who typically makes phone stuff. So
what you think?
They're really doing it for the Vive, huh, Wilson?
The Vive, I don't know about that name, but I guess the Valve Vive.
It's not that bad, but it's not that good. It's not one of those things where you immediately like...
It sounds too much like Vine. That's my issue. Which is popular enough for me to know about, so.
In my head, it's like hashtag just because it's 4 letters.
It's not a bad point, I guess.
Hashtag 4 letters, hashtag other people don't have it, hashtag I got it.
Hashtag it's the last combination of letters that could work. So anyway, the HTC promised that there's going to be a big GDC presence for this thing, and we're going to have a lot of GDC stories next week, I imagine. But I think it's interesting that Valve's throwing their hat into the ring on this one.
Yeah,
their headset.
See this coming. You had to see this coming at least a little bit. I mean, Valve always likes to be on the forefront of these things, and there's no better way than to make your own freaking VR. They're pretty much the best other company to do it.
Oh yeah, I think it's interesting who they paired up with though.
Yeah, HTC.
To make it, yeah.
It just makes me wonder if, so the developer packages for this game, or for this piece of technology, are going to come out in the summer or the spring? Let's see here. I think it's going to be in the spring. So, yeah, just the spring. So you'll be able to actually dev on this if you'd like, and then it'll be out for consumers even later than that, but sometime this year.
That's pretty cool.
I just wonder if Oculus already has too much of a head start, or would Valve's obviously the company that would you would need to compete with, something that's been out and popular for so long.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think Oculus necessarily has a big enough of a head start. They definitely have a big enough of a head start from devs, but as far as actual adoption, adopting the product goes, I don't think anybody really has an advantage yet. I mean, Oculus already has a little bit of advantage, obviously, but not big enough that Vive couldn't make it up with, good titles and,
Yeah, right. I mean, the Oculus kind of came and went, and I don't think anyone has any real attachment to it, so.
Well, it hasn't really come yet. It's out, but it's only being used in the way of dev right now. There aren't any big,
for sure.
Right. Well, and in general, VR has just not been widely accepted, right? Like, there hasn't been that killer app that makes people go, oh damn, I want a headset.
I mean, I think it's because it's just, it's not like easily usable, like you have to kind of go out of your way to use it, and it's a hassle, right? Other games and stuff, you just kind of grab your controller and go.
That's true.
Like with VR, there's just things you have to do that you would normally not have to do, and taking that pain and adding it to your gaming experience or something is not something a lot of gamers want to do, I don't think. It's not something I want to do.
Screw that.
Yeah. So apparently this will be in a lot of ways a very, very strong technical product, right? So apparently it's pushing 90 FPS. It's supposed to just be very, very sexy headset image.
Calm down there, Wilson.
You're getting a little aroused.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah, my knee is just uncontrollable right now. So
arms are heavy.
Yeah, hashtag mom spaghetti. I think.
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, it kind of looks like, what am I reminded of here? It looks like some sort of like Halo armor, just with all of the.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
It does, yeah.
I don't know what it's called.
The Eve.
Is that it? Maybe.
From Halo 3?
It's from Halo 3.
Anyway, so this all happened in Barcelona today at a press conference, so I'm sure more details will be out soon, and we'll obviously be providing you any sort of fun information we get from GDC. But moving on to other news, Jagex, who is of RuneScape fame, is working on a new MMO.
Oh God, why?
So this is not exactly something that's like out yet, but basically on their job listings page on their website, they're looking for a lead programmer for an undisclosed MMO. So, yeah, I mean, I think we have at least one RuneScape player here in the room.
Hi.
Lane.
There he is.
Hi.
I couldn't tell he was mining for fish.
Hi.
So, I don't know. What do you think about this? I mean, Jagex is not. I mean, they did the RuneScape revamp recently, and
yes, they made a great move, appeasing a lot of people by making RuneScape 2007 a free-to-play title again. I think Jagex has a lot of potential to make a good MMO if they just make the full-price MMO. We've seen a lot of people crash and burn, obviously, with trying to make a full-on MMO, but Jagex has already proven that they can make an MMO. And RuneScape was free for so long. Like, you didn't even have to, pay for one of the best MMO experiences out there other than WoW. It was great. And it was one of the things that turned me on to gaming in a big way. It was fantastic. And I still sometimes wish to go back to it. I'm not going to. It didn't envelop my life or anything, but it was really cool.
Yeah, well, that's what Destiny's for anyway.
As Lane says, as he's retyping in his old information to see if it still works.
And then, but then his Destiny app goes off on his phone. He's like, okay.
Yeah, interrupts.
I'm gonna go try it right now. Speaking of which, but
so
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So I was gonna ask though, it's a browser RuneScape's a browser-based game at the moment, right?
Yes.
Would you imagine that this brand new hot MMO is gonna be browser-based?
Absolutely not. I couldn't possibly imagine.
I don't think so, because why would they make their same game again? Basically, is the way I'd say it.
Yeah, that'd just be
dumb.
Pretty much everything they can do in this kind of RuneScape.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they could keep the RuneScape name. You know what I mean? They could run with RuneScape, like RuneScape 2 or RuneScape Legends or some bullshit like that. But there's sure as hell no way they're going to keep it a browser.
Yeah, and I mean, RuneScape has its issues. Whatever. So they could do new things. Like, there's not there are 44,000 people playing old school RuneScape. That's crazy.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool.
So, yeah, I'm just interested because, you know, the MMO scene is not, it's not for the faint of heart, and Jagex obviously knows the territory well, so it's interesting just to see a kind of a veteran developer working on an MMO, not only just as a money grab, but because that's what they do.
Yeah.
Right?
It's good. I mean, just having them branch out is good for business. How many other, like, really, really based MMO producers are there out there other than Blizzard? Like, can you think of any off the top of your head? There's a couple, I'm sure, but
Korean companies, I don't know what there are.
Yeah.
But it's difficult, though. Think about it. Like, Tryon Worlds does a lot of things like that, but they're known to be a pretty scummy company. Jagex has had their share of, like, mess-ups and stuff, but honestly, just having an experienced company make a new MMO is exciting, bottom line.
I think it'll
because
be neat.
We've had Wildstars and Rifts and all those other games, which are great, but have fallen flat because of not enough experience making MMOs and preparing for it, or, you know, a host of other problems that ended up making them die. So, I don't know. It's just good to have a new person making a RuneScape game, a new MMO.
Yeah.
Here's the last clincher I want to throw at you guys. So, also looking at their job listings page here, I've noticed they have a game design position up under their speculative applications area. And one of the things that they're looking for as a requirement is a commercial experience of microtransaction-driven games. So, I'm just going to throw that little piece of kindling into the fire that this may be another free-to-play game.
Yeah, you know, it definitely could be.
It could be based on microtransactions.
They're real hot right now, so.
Well,
So
flaming.
hot right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I just logged in and it looks like my character's either gone or it's reset me. I don't know.
Well, that's what happens when you get hacked, Lane. When was the last time you changed your password to your internet?
A long time ago.
Okay, so that is going to close out our bulletin board. A couple of interesting items for you guys. But what we want to talk about today in our 9001 discussion is an interesting article that we saw earlier. And basically, it'll be linked in the show notes, actually, too, if you want to check it out. But basically, it talks about the impossible $40 price point. Or is there some way that AAA games could go from $60 to $40 as a new price point? And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because a couple of the games that we've talked about on the show are, one, Evolve, and two, The Order. And I feel like both those games, you know, had got a little bit of heat for being not worth the $60, and we kind of talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But, what do you guys think? Is there a way that $40 could be a new standard for AAA games, even though that would defy all logic?
I don't know. I think if people just start, like, you know, get fed up enough with you know, small content games, like The Order was like multiple like people played through the game and had like 5 to 6 hour run-throughs, and there's no real replay value in that game. Like, I don't know, like that story must be life changing for it to be worth the $60 price tag. You know what I mean? Like, that's insane, I think. And, I think, once people get in the groove enough and they, you know, they maybe see similar devs that, you know, make these short games or something, and people start following this footsteps, I think people may stop buying these games and we might see some turnaround to like a lower price range for certain ones.
Personally, I don't think that the $40 price point is realistic. I don't think any company is going to be, well, at least the people at the top who are like deciding how much money they need to make ends meet and stuff like that. I don't think they're going to look at the first $40 price point and be like, yeah, that'll sell more copies. They're going to look at that and be like, yeah, we're going to be losing $20 with every single sale, and we're going to have to be selling, you know, an extra one every 2 we sell to make that up. And that's what's going to decide it for them, I think. I don't think anybody's going to really be willing to do that if they think they're going to take a hit. Basically, the costs are going to have to be astronomically low to make people think that's worthwhile, I think.
I mean, I think that's a good point. It's definitely like sound logic there. Breaking this down into the actual numbers, there's some data from OnLive that shows when you have a $60 game, $15 of that goes straight to the retailer, and then $27 of that goes back to the publisher. So right away you can see that, everybody's kind of taking a little slice of the pie. And ultimately, the returns on that $60 is only totals to about $7 back to the actual developer. So that's kind of tough.
But yeah, and that's why I think this is part of the reason why indie developing is so big these days and flourishing so much, because bottom line, it's just lower risk, and you can do a lot more with a lot less these days than you had to. And
right.
You've got a way bigger chance of making a game. If you put a lot of work into it, a lot of good work into it, and do it really well, you've got a way bigger chance of actually making a game that makes money if you put it out for like a $10 price point and you just worked on it as like a passion project. So many people are actually thinking that's a good idea these days, that they're doing it because, I mean, it doesn't really require anything other than your time and your patience and maybe a couple programs here and there. So yeah, indie developing, pretty big.
For sure, and I think that is also part of the reason why there's this push or why this article was written, right? If you think about the number of people who can go out and spend $5 or $10 during the Steam sale, or what have you, even just $5 or $10 on an indie game in general, and get, twice as much of the playtime, and we can't quantify this, but twice as much of the enjoyment, right? Or enjoy a game just as much as like the order, then what constitutes that $60 price tag, right?
Yeah. We're displacing the actual $60 price tag a lot with Steam, which is not necessarily a good thing, but Steam is a really interesting comparison, and it's basically breaking people into the idea of cheaper games, and it always has been, at least before it was big and when things weren't good, but now with those sales, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, I think there's still a place for AAA games, but they have to be AAA quality, right?
Definitely.
If people release games that, are like mediocre at best, like Titanfall, for instance, right? That's another good one that's, listed in the article. That pretty much did not have $60 of content, right? I mean, I was tired of the game after like the first couple of days.
Did you have it?
Yeah.
What'd you get it on?
I had Titanfall.
Did you get it on PC?
Yeah, PC.
Oh, okay.
And I got tired of it pretty quick.
One thing that I think is different about Titanfall, and very much to the developers' credit, they've been adding content pretty much since the game came out. And I'm not talking just like DLC map packs. They added entire new game modes. Like they have a Horde defense game mode, which is, by the way, one of the best Horde game modes I've ever played, because it is so much more creative than all the ones I've ever played. It's up there with Firefight. It's really close. And,
wow.
The thing it does really uniquely is it tells you at the beginning of the wave what is going to be coming your way, and these aren't like enemies you'll typically see in a multiplayer match, because multiplayer is obviously the bulk of the game. These are enemies that are like, they're titans that their only job is to go nuclear on your reactor. Like, they'll just walk up to your reactor and just blow themselves up, because that's what they do. So, you better freaking kill them before they get to you, or, stuff's gonna be bad. Or EMP titans, who are going to shut down your titan and make it harder for you to do things. Or, just a whole bunch of infantry. It's really cool, and it's a lot of fun. I play it with my friends occasionally, and I don't even play Titanfall that much. I got it with my console for free. I don't enjoy the multiplayer particularly, but Frontier Defense is excellent. I know they've added some other things here and there, can't remember off the top of my head, but I think they may have, in Titanfall's case, figured out a little bit the lesson that they need to learn, and hopefully with the next one they'll do a little better. And maybe that's just what needs to happen. Maybe people are going to have to go out there, and I'm talking like AAA developers are going to have to go out there, fall flat on their face, or at least fall on their face a little bit, and understand what we as the consumers actually want. Because we don't want 6-hour games with no replayability for $60. It's $10 an hour. That's ridiculous.
Well, I think most developers, like at this point, probably know at least a little bit of what a gamer wants. I mean, games have been made since, like, the 80s.
Yeah, so. I'm generalizing, but like, what do you think? What is the thought process there? Like, what do you think that the people who were making the Order 1866 were playing? Do you think?
I think they thought that they thought they literally were like, okay, our game is super high quality, like as far as like graphics go. Like I think that's like their biggest like claim to fame is like how good the game looks, right?
Yeah, the experience.
They're like, people are gonna like look at the game. It's gonna look so good, better than all the other games out there. People just are gonna forget about the short length of the game. Or they're just not going to care about it. And even if they realize it's not going to be a big deal.
Well, and another thing is they may have run out of time, too, on a certain amount of things. Like, with a narrative game, getting all those cutscenes and stuff to work just correctly and make that story work takes more time than probably, they could imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Even a seasoned developer's point of view.
I can definitely see it, like, being some issue. But, at the end of the day, as a consumer, I gotta critique the right way to make sure we get good products out.
Oh yeah, and even like disregarding Steam, like you've still got like the Xbox Live Arcade and the PSN.
Yeah, and they're giving away free games every month. Both of them. They're giving away Rayman Legends. That's I think that's really the first AAA Xbox One game that they've given away. And you bet your ass I'm gonna download that at some point to play it.
Right.
It's excellent, by the way.
And even then, like, if you're, like, kind of new to the console scene, right, you pick up a console, like, maybe you're, like a parent, you're getting, like, your kid the console, and you're kind of interested in getting into games, and you see, like, okay, like, you could buy a game that's $60, or you see this game called Castle Crashers. It's $15.
Castle Crashers, dude.
That's not fair. That's not a fair comparison, though.
Dude, that game has endless possibilities.
And that game is still selling like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
They need to make another... They need to make something a lot like it. I really like Battle Block Theater is amazing. Battle Block Theater is a great freaking game, but Castle Crashers is lightning in a freaking bottle. They just oh god, I want them so bad to make another one. So good.
Nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it. I was gonna say something. What was I gonna say? I don't even remember. You distracted me with Castle Crashers. It was something about replayability. I'll think about it.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, the main thing is, I think that it's also worth noting here, and this is some number crunching done by the author of the article. Movie tickets have gone from around $6 to something like $8.14 from back to 2005, or from 2005 to now. If that same thing happened with video games, then basically the cost equivalent would be $71. And obviously that hasn't happened yet, or else we would have. Who knows what type of turmoil would have happened in our society if video games had gone from $60 to $70 for AAA.
Yeah,
but
I think that comparison isn't quite equal though, right?
Yeah,
well, because first off, $6 to $8, even if it's percentage the same as like 60 whatever to 70 whatever, it's not equivalent in the sense of how much you're spending as a total, right? Because like a $6 to $8 change doesn't seem like that much because it's a couple bucks. Pretty much anyone can afford a couple of dollars.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that it's still the equivalent for like the industry, like, cause that's how the industry works, is they work on ticket sales, and the game industry works on, copies of individual copies.
Yeah.
So, it's just purely numbers here, just empirical.
Yeah, and another thing is that, I feel like, movies have been, relatively popular for a long time. Games have only been, like, really, really popular maybe the past 5 years, I think. You know what I mean? Like, so popular that there've been sports made off of them and stuff like that. Like the sales aren't even close to equivalent, like, for games and, for movies. And that increase in sale that games have also, like, cut that price gap a little bit too, I think, if that makes sense.
Well, and part of that also is the DLC model that's happened, right? Like that's also
another $20 or whatever.
Well, that's why people are supposed to like DLC, but.
Yeah. I enjoy DLC sometimes.
It depends, dude. Yeah. I mean, it can be good.
I sort of remember what I was gonna say. Replayability, we touched on this a little bit, but it's such a hugely core part of games when they're not necessarily long. And I think I sort of realized that Destiny is a prime example of this. It has massive replayability, and not the best replayability, because obviously you're replaying some of the same stuff with just a little bit of differences here and there, but that's
called grinding.
It's like a grinding replay. Like, you're getting somewhere by playing the same stuff. That's big. That's something. That's what you want to do. You want to get somewhere when you're doing stuff. So, in Destiny, that's your big thing. You might be playing the same stuff, but you're getting somewhere doing it. In the Order, if there's not like a new game plus, or if there's not new things to find, then it's you just playing through the same thing to experience the story again. And that's valuing experience, but people really value, progression these days. It's a very important part of the video games we play for some reason. I guess that's mostly because of things like Call of Duty. I don't know, the big shooter genres, which have pretty much not really forced down our throat, but sort of forced down our throat the progression model of, unlocking things over time. It's a really addicting model, and it like assists replayability massively, I think. So, again, just replayability. It's really important. And we already talked about that, but it's really the crucial part in this, in my opinion. If Order 1886 had like 2 more replay options, like a one that gives like this massive modifier, like maybe you play as someone else and see it through someone else's eyes, then that'd be great. Then there's another 6 hours right there, or 5, because we've already sort of done it before. And then one other really big modifier, like a side campaign where you play as something else that's only like a few hours long. There you go. And the other thing that I was going to say that I just remembered, I saw somebody compare Order 1886 to Heavenly Sword, if you remember that game. Do you know that? It's almost a tech demo game, but Order 1886 came out too late in the console cycle to be passed off as a tech demo game. If it had come out 1 or 2 months after the console come out, people would have been like, holy crap, this game is beautiful. We're going to give it a really good score for that, because it's essentially showing us what the next generation of games can look like. That's great.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a great point. That's a really good point.
Like, we would have passed it on. This game would be like an 8 or like 8.5, I think, in a lot of people's books. Right. Because it would have been an amazing looking game with a pretty good story, and it's a tech demo. Like, Heavenly Sword got okay reviews.
Right, so. And like, if this show was around, we'd probably be doing the same thing. We wouldn't even know what we were talking about. Which is amazing.
But yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, keeping in mind the zeitgeist, right? Like understanding what the spirit of kind of the time is at the time of your game launch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even I was talking about how Destiny might drop the older consoles later on. That's definitely going to account for a lot of how Destiny pans out in the second one. Like, did they have enough time or space to develop, what they really wanted to do? Were their eyes that much bigger than their stomach this time? Did they screw themselves that way? It's going to be all about when they release it and what the world looks like when they release it. So we'll see.
Right. So I guess, just to wrap this up, let's go around the table here. We're not sitting at the same table, but let's go around and kind of weigh in. Is it possible that you could ever see AAA standard title sale going, the kind of the price of entry go down? And I'll start, and I'll say maybe. Can I do that? Can I say maybe?
I think that
it's maybe possible.
When I was talking about maybe it's possible, because it might happen, but it's not very solid, and it doesn't really mean anything when you say it. So.
Okay, I'll just say yes.
So what I think is, when I say that it could happen, I think y'all maybe like don't think of it the way I think of it. It'd be basically like a new genre of games, right? And it'd be games that like, maybe like were pushed out quicker and like maybe had more sequels, and or like kind of expansion packs or something,
More
microtransaction, that kind of thing. Kind of push like, it's $40, so I kind of want to buy it because it's made by a AAA company and it has that AAA swag.
I love that.
And then, people are like, oh, I only paid $40 for the game, so I'll pay $20 for the DLC and $10 for the skin or whatever, right?
Yeah, I would probably spend even $60 for like the collector's edition.
There you go.
I'm already salivating.
Exactly.
See, this is why I think it's definitely an idea that could happen in the future, because eventually somebody's going to think of that and think of a game that works perfectly in that idea. Somebody's going to think up the next League of Legends on a console, and it's going to be $30, and everything in the game is going to cost you $5. It's gonna happen eventually. There's gonna be a game like that.
Why not?
It's like a why not. There's so much money to be made there that they're not tapping into yet. It's just basically an adaptation of the free-to-play market that fits more of a it fits perfectly in between the area of the people who want to go hard and the people who don't want to go hard. I think it's sort of inevitable.
And it gives people that agency, right? It's basically gamifying the fucking experience of buying a game, right? Like, instead of spending my $60 straight up, like, I'm buying the game for $30, and then I have $30 more to spend on however I want on the game. Right?
Yeah,
is that ridiculous?
No, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And that's what things like Titanfall could be. And not Titanfall specifically, because they did put a lot of work into that. Maybe. I mean, I'm not 100% sure about anything like that. Obviously, they put hard work into it. But
they're probably lazy fucks.
No, that's not what I mean. But the campaign was obviously half-baked. Like, they had an idea there, and it maybe just didn't work out like they wanted.
Minimum viable product.
Yeah, like, they could have done something with that, I guess. But I'm sure people would have been happy with a $40 price point and just the multiplayer. Like, drop that on some fools, and they probably would have ate it up. And that's not necessarily going to mean the player base is going to stick around or that more people are going to buy it, but it depends. Like, the time you are saving not making that campaign compared to the money you're making by making it $40 has to be comparable. So, literally, the defining moment here will be when those jerk-offs in the skyscrapers are sitting up there screwing around with their calculators on the computer, calculating exactly what the risk reward is, and then figuring out, oh, hey, this one's in our favor. We could actually do a $40 game. That's when this is going to happen. And that may not be for a while. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see.
Okay, well, there you have it. So the verdict from the 9001 is maybe probably.
Maybe probably.
Like anywhere between 50 to 100% it could happen.
There we go. So, at any rate, I am going to close out the show here. Thanks for tuning in this week. Please feel free to shoot us any questions or comments to 9001podcast@gmail.com. And you can find the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, by the way. And our website, 9001rad.io. Until next time, this has been the 9001 Podcast. See ya!
Goodbye. Goodbye forever. Oh God, were you like farting out your mouth right there? Yes.
It's actually shitting. This is South Park, by the way.
Oh God, don't remind me of that episode. That was gross.
Buddy, I did it!
David was over here earlier today, and we were playing a little GTA, and I was like messing with him, and I was like tapping on the table or something. And he was like, yeah, repetitive sounds like that make me shit.